Welcome back to episode 31 of the Loggerhead Golf Podcast.
41.
That's what it said. 41.
You said 31.
You said 31.
Well, 41, 31, whatever.
Math is hard.
Math is hard on this podcast.
13 minus 50, got dang 47.
Well, we know what the intro is.
Welcome back to episode 41 of the Loggerhead Golf Podcast. In case you guys missed every news source outlet, golf outlet, social media, Tiger Woods did not finish the weekend, nor did he finish the second round.
Just going to say, called it. I knew he couldn't play 4 rounds.
Even when they're guaranteed. Actually, they weren't.
They weren't necessarily guaranteed, but
It was really hard to miss that cut this week.
Gosh.
Really hard. Oh, really hard.
but
We did not get to see any Sunday red.
I was going to say, honestly, his brand must be disappointed, right? The debut of Sunday Red and their most important
Premiere.
day was missed. But quite honestly, disappointed to not get to see him play all 4 rounds because he played the opening round pretty solid in reality.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that I kind of took away from it, I mean, we alluded to it last week, he's the best ball striker of all time. So he always is going to figure out how to play a golf course. Like ball striking wise,
not even
tee to green, he was hitting the ball solid.
I was going to say, probably
it just
the best,
looks like he still can't walk. That
probably
poor
the
guy.
best iron player of all time.
True.
I think you got to be more specific because driving, obviously, he was always and has always been
Sporadic.
True.
distance was never the problem, but you could get sporadic. But was always a very good iron player, kind of like Nicholas,
Yeah.
you know. But
I think, but watching his round, he navigated around the course really well. Speed wise, he was up there with everybody else. But you can tell just once he gets on some of those holes, that uneven walk, it's tough for him. I mean, and maybe it was just the fact that we ended up learning that he was sick. But like when he was walking in for his Friday round, he was barely moving.
yeah, well, I mean, he was sick.
Yeah.
Dang in and out halfway house.
Huh?
That in and out halfway house got him.
Supposedly Jordan Spieth was sick. Supposedly Patrick Cantlay was sick over the weekend.
Yeah.
What they got going on there in L.A.?
Flugate.
Flugate. I was going to say, apparently, if you get the flu on the golf course, it takes, 2 ambulances, a fire truck, a ladder truck.
For an IV.
Yeah.
Hey, when they said, hey, we got Tiger Woods sick, everybody's going to that golf.
I'm jumping in the truck and I'm going to the golf course.
Shut the rest of the town down. We're going.
I mean, I'm surprised they didn't in between some of those holes because they had to wait so long, especially during the 10, 11, 12, and 13. I'm surprised they didn't already have an IV station ready for them.
Yeah.
Well, what do we think going into, obviously, April? Will we see Tiger teed up in anything, or is the Masters going to be his next start?
He alluded to, what tournament did he allude to?
Players, right? Was Players before?
Players before. Yeah.
Players is in March, yeah. I would probably say you're only going to see him at the Players. I wouldn't imagine maybe Bay Hill.
I'd say,
Maybe.
I mean, the Players is a pretty flat walk.
No, it's an easy walk.
So that would probably be more. But at the same time, does he need to rest more to get prepared for Augusta? Because Augusta is going to be pretty challenging getting around the golf course, walking wise.
Yeah, I think we'll only see him at Players in Augusta, and then probably won't see him after that.
Yeah.
Just majors for the rest of the year after that?
I don't know. Pinehurst, that's going to be a tough walk.
Yeah.
That's not an easy walk.
And it's going to be freaking hot.
It's going to be hot.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll have to at least have 8 shirts.
Hey, what did you guys think of his golf shoes? Because we never got to see his golf shoes until the actual rounds.
Well, I think because they should have started with that. The shoe's the best looking thing. To
You
me.
like the shoe?
I like because the shoe that they showed in the debut of Sunday Red looked like a pair of Skechers from 1990. The shoes he was wearing at the tournament were awesome. The logo still looks sloppy on the back. If you took away the logo, made it a little smaller, but the actual shoe itself looks good.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, on camera, I didn't see anything wrong with the logo out there.
Yeah,
I don't think it's that bad.
that's okay.
They looked a lot like the AG ones.
Yeah,
They're probably made
in the same place.
Probably made by Nike. The funny thing, it's you roll out your brand, and then what you wear on the golf course, none of that was shown.
Right.
Like all his outerwear looked
Were awesome.
awesome.
Yeah.
They looked awesome because his logo was in some different places that you usually don't see it. He had on the side of his pant leg, it said Sunday Red.
Yeah. And that's what I said. I was like, as you see the full collection come out, I think it'll overall be like.
I just think it looks like they got to sign a player and make sure it gets to Sunday. I mean, not being rude.
Scheffler.
I'm not. Trust me, I'm not counting out Tiger Woods. Never will.
He'll make it this Sunday,
Sign
but
him.
it'll be rough getting there.
Sign him up.
Yeah, that poor guy.
First in everything and 51st, which is dead last in putting.
I say, how many players in the field?
That made the cut. There was only 52.
Oh.
Yeah.
There was only 70 players in the entire field. But they said 51st. He was dead last rounds 1 and 2 as well.
Yeah.
Well, I think for Rory to even come out like in an interview and open, I mean, obviously Rory's always going to run his mouth, but to openly say like, okay, he needs a mallet putter. And like me and you were talking about, TaylorMade had actually made a milled spider.
He tried a mallet putter at
did.
one point last year, didn't he?
It was a milled
he
spider.
had his like best putting round of the year.
Yeah.
So he was,
Or best putting tournament.
yeah, so he was first in strokes gained putting when he put that plumber's neck milled spider in. And then the next week he took it back out, went back to his Scottie Cameron and finished 52nd again.
I mean, what were you saying yesterday about it all?
Well, I mean, he hits a lot of putts where he hits the edge of the hole or he lips out. Like, is it his putting or is it his green rating?
Right now it's confidence.
That's where I'm going to steal.
Well, and that kind of funnels into it too. Yeah.
Well, that's where I'm going to steal kind of a thought that my dad brought up yesterday, is that how much do you think it plays into the fact now that they don't have access to greens books?
that could be part of it.
I mean, I wonder what the strokes gained putting stats, and maybe this is something we'll look up and come back to, but strokes gained putting stats pre-rule change where they could use
with the green reading
with
book
green
and without.
books and then without, because I wouldn't count out that it's half a stroke.
I mean, it would be interesting to see what that looks like. I mean, honestly, could we?
Because all his
was this the first year at Riviera without the green reading book?
second year,
Second year, so
but
we would need to go back.
He didn't have a dominant year last year.
We would need to go back basically
3
and
years.
go 3 years ago, compare the average strokes gained putting of the field then to this year.
Yeah, I mean, because you're exactly right. He lipped out a lot of putts.
And let's face it,
Especially
I mean,
Poana too, and where they say everything breaks towards the ocean and valley, and
there's a lot of nuance to putting anyway. I mean,
sure.
if you're hitting putts and you're hitting the edge of the hole, you're barely missing.
oh, I mean, how easy is it to hit a? How easy is it? It's Kyle to hit a ball offline.
Yeah, it's 0.5. Like just to put it in perspective, meaning if it's a flat surface and your face is half a degree open or shut, you're gonna hit the edge essentially.
It's no different than like we say all the time. If your path is 0 and your club face is a degree closed, that ball is gonna turn 8 to 12 yards left.
Right.
You know, so putting is the same thing.
Which, back to Rory's point, if he has a putter that's got a little more stability, a little higher MOY like a mallet, maybe that keeps that face from rotating a little bit and keeps it square that little bit longer.
Well, I can tell you, I'm part of a couple putting Facebook groups,
Oh, no.
and
Of course you are.
Here we go.
the number one comment this weekend, matter of fact, one of them got over 30,000 shares, was take Will Zalatoris' putter and give it to Scheffler at this point, because Willie Z is on a tear right now putting, and you know, talk about like where he started, like the Hero World Challenge, he shot 18 over, and now he's what, 2 weeks in a row, or 2 events in a row, he's top 10.
Oh, well, he showed.
So there's more planes on Will Zalatoris' putting stroke than there are at ILM. You know,
Yeah.
it's moving all over the place.
Yeah, he's making a lot more putts than Scheffler. So could you imagine if you took Zalatoris' putting right now, and obviously Scottie Scheffler's been first and everything else,
Right.
Scottie would have already won.
Well, the only reason why he moved to that putter is to practice. He's able to actually practice putting, Will Zalatoris, because if he had a conventional putter with his back, he wouldn't be able to practice.
If Scheffler makes one more putt per round, how many tournaments does he win?
I mean,
In the last year,
oh my gosh,
probably 6 to 8.
I mean, it'd be a
and
bunch,
maybe a
wouldn't it?
major.
You know,
Yeah.
because that'd give him 4 shots a tournament.
Oh, it's to finish in the top 10 after being dead last in putting is almost unheard of.
And let's be fair to Scottie. Like, he's still making putts.
You have to.
You can't shoot the scores he shoots without making something, right?
But when
we said that last week.
got 6 at minimum 15 birdie looks around.
However, like with the TV coverage, they just show you the ones he's missing. You know, it's the story they want to tell, I guess. But
yeah, the thing that doesn't help him is that right now, yes, he's making putts and he's making birdies, but it's usually 2-putt birdies, or he had a couple chip ins, he had things like that. I mean, the guy, once he figures out his putting, there's not going to be anybody on the PGA Tour that can catch him. Because the only other guy that could catch him is no longer on the PGA Tour, and that's Jon Rahm.
Yeah. I'm going to say, once he figures out a way to make 1 or 2 more putts around, he's going to be, he's already a good player by all metrics.
And a perfect example is before he got DQ'd, right? Jordan Spieth was leading the field in putting. He was making everything. Terrible ball striker. Making everything.
Born one way, skin a cat. I was going to say, now, what do we think about, kind of jumping on to the next topic, what do we think about Spieth's DQ?
I think it's one of those things. It's one stroke. I don't think you should be disqualified if it's like, it's not something he does quite often, but I think he should be penalized, but not necessarily disqualified for a simple adjustment. But on the other side of that, there's 3 to 6 people per group that has the score. It's really hard not to confirm your score.
I was going to say,
that means laziness. If you didn't confirm your score, it's laziness.
To me, I think it's a just penalty.
Yeah.
For number one, we've had that rule in golf for how many years?
For a long time.
Essentially since the beginning of golf.
Yeah.
Since the USGA started, at least
took
anyway,
over the rules, yeah.
So we know the rule. If you play in tournament golf, number one, you keep your own score. Your playing competitor keeps your score, but you're also keeping your score.
Yeah, it's integrity.
And at the end of the round, you sign your scorecard and you double check your score. And then you give it to whoever's taking the scores. Now, when you're playing a tournament, what do you always do, Nikki?
Huh?
What do you do when you're playing a tournament?
I mark down every score.
Well, number one, before I've handed it to the scorer,
I
have checked hole by hole that my score that I kept matches what my
I'll essentially say,
for me.
Caleb, I'm going to call out your holes. We're going to go by threes.
Right.
3, 3, 4, 5, 3, 8.
Yep.
It
might have happened, you know.
But I will say this. Easiest way of this.
Hold on. Okay. And then the last thing I do is when I hand my scorecard to the scorer, I sit there and wait for them to enter my score.
Because they will usually read it back.
And they will read it back to me and confirm it. Now, if there's something wrong when he reads it back to me, what can they do?
Okay.
They can hand you your scorecard back, and you can then adjust it. Now, once you leave the scoring area, your score's turned in, you're done.
The only way you can adjust it, and a lot of people don't know this, is you never tally up your score.
Yeah, don't add anything.
Don't add anything. Don't put tallies at the box because they're going off of once you write in that box what you think you shot, that's what you're. But if you leave that box open and the scorer reads off your holes and he notices something right, you can then change it even though the scorecard's signed. But if it's already tallied up, there's nothing you can do.
And as long as you don't leave the scoring area.
And it drives me nuts too when I'm playing in tournaments and someone else is keeping my score and they tallied up my score. I'm like, man, can you erase that? I don't, because I want to be able to, if something happens, I can always adjust. And that brings back because we've seen a lot of, our generation, we think we're the most technologically advanced and things like that. And we're always wanting to change old things. So they're like, oh, we have all this shot trackers and all these markers and stuff. It's so dumb that we have scorecards. Yeah, it's also dumb not verifying your score.
I was going to say.
When everyone else in the field had to do the same thing. Yeah. And I get that he was sick. And supposedly Xander said he had to run, he had to sprint to the bathroom. And in that meantime, he got DQ'd. But it's like, okay, then the scorer's table can wait as long as they need to wait. You have no time that you have to get your score in.
Right.
You'd be like all these scramble tournaments, wait, then turn in that score. But it's.
I say there's plenty of opportunity to get your scorecard correct before you get to the point of DQ.
Yeah.
That to me the DQ is just.
And that's the thing. There's so many rules in golf that I'm like, man, DQ that's obnoxious.
That's a hefty penalty.
And I know in this situation, it's a hefty penalty because it's already a limited field. The field's not really, it's an elevated event.
There's a ton of money in the purse.
That ton of money in the purse. The field's not that strong.
It's a costly mistake.
That we had this week, Hideki saved the tournament, but we had the worst case scenario for the new investors of the PGA Tour.
Why was that? Why was the worst case scenario?
This was not in the cards. You have your tournament host, number one player, the needle, the guy that's leading the player advisory, have to WD. And then you have your number two guy that's also on the player advisory council, things like that, get DQ'd. You look at this tournament as an investor, essentially in the strategic sports group, and then you look at what happened at Riviera, and you're like, man, this was a success.
So who was in contention on Sunday?
Will Zalatoris, and he made a great story. Patrick Cantlay hasn't won in 2 years, so it's like he's not a top name. Like he's not.
He's still one of the poster boys, though.
He's not. He's because he's on the player advisory council. But you got to look at this weekend and be like, man, Hideki, thank gosh you shot a record round on Sunday to kind of save this tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, Luke List has the most wins of anybody coming down that stretch in the last year. So, and he kind of.
But is that a name that moves the needle?
No. And that's what makes it tough. I watched every single round. And I know I say all the time I don't watch a lot of golf. This is one of my favorite golf courses. I want to play this golf course so bad.
Yeah. I enjoy watching Riviera. I unfortunately didn't get to watch much of this event. But I guess the broader question we are asking is, are elevated events working? Or do we feel that elevated events are working?
For the 18 players that it benefits, yeah. But for the rest of us, like golf fans and stuff, no.
I don't know that it's adding anything for the golf fan. And realistically,
does just adding money to a purse make a tournament better?
I don't think that's no.
Well, especially with the rule change of the elevated events. Now you don't have to play in them, and that was kind of the whole point of elevated was you were required to play in these certain tiers, and then they changed it to where you're now no longer required to play in elevated events.
I think what makes the players great.
To me, it's the ambiance. Even though it's not a major, like there's a build up all week. You've got live from the players.
You know,
everybody
it's the
commits to
biggest
it.
tournament on tour other than a major to win.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So how can the PGA Tour create that for these elevated events? Because essentially what they're doing is limiting the field and giving them a bunch of money and thinking it's going to be on the same tier as the Players Championship.
Right. Realistically speaking, outside of the four majors, nothing is elevated.
Not at all.
That's kind of the whole point of the majors.
Yeah, exactly. You can't have multiple tiers. It just doesn't work.
And the NFL would be like having a Super Bowl every Tuesday.
Well, or a mid-season tournament.
Yeah.
I know one
Look
player.
at you, NBA.
I know one player brought up this week that the elevated events aren't really working. It was the guy that was there on the broadcast on Sunday that did not want to be there.
Who was
That's
that?
Rory McIlroy.
Yeah.
Because he's bringing up like they're gonna something has to change because the elevated events aren't moving the needle at all.
This is his calendar he created.
Yeah, I mean, but we've had 3 elevated events now, and
Well, now it seems like every event.
That's the thing.
They're so bundled up together. It
Yeah.
seems like every week's an elevated event.
why wouldn't you just do because if you have the players, right, the players is already elevated, always has been.
Yeah.
The players was technically always the largest purse on the PGA Tour, other than a major.
It was still, I think, the largest person on PGA Tour.
Yeah, so why wouldn't you just have 4
I was going to
players, and then you do the LA Open, Riviera.
Currently,
you can't call it the Open.
Currently, you have how many elevated events on the calendar?
Is it 18?
8. No, you have 8.
8. I think you got to cut that number in half. Just have 4.
Yeah.
You know,
So 4 majors, 4 elevated events.
Because that's the thing.
And the players obviously would need to be 1.
Nothing was elevated about Pebble Beach.
No.
Other than the purse.
No.
I get, Riviera, if there was a tournament that I would say means more than any other tournament,
it could be
Riviera
one of those.
is it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Hogan's Alley.
I think if you cut the number of events in half, go from 8 to 4, double the purse in those 4, so now you've got an elevated purse. And then all 70 players commit to it, and they have to play it. If you miss one, you're out.
Yeah.
You know, and make the top 70 players on the PGA Tour have to play those 4 events.
I mean, every golfer that was supposed to be there showed up this week.
Okay.
No one backed out this past week. So, I mean, I think the players are
that hasn't been the case in the others.
Because you can miss a cut.
And now they have outs, too. They don't have to
This is the
play
only
them.
tournament you can miss a cut and get a paycheck.
Right.
So,
You know what tournament? Bay Hill's not an elevated event, right?
I'll be honest, I don't know.
Yeah, because I think if like
Bay
obviously
Hill would be a good one for an elevated event.
the reason why, in my opinion,
usually always gets the
that
strongest field. Yeah.
is who created the Golf Channel.
Arnold Palmer.
Arnold Palmer did so much for the game of golf that the players already commit to that tournament knowing the history and trying to pay tribute to Mr. Palmer.
It's no different than the Memorial.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if you're going to take away and change elevated events, or like don't make Pebble an elevated event, it's a boring event now that they've changed the Pro-Am thing. Like that's a cool event, but it's not an elevated event. Make Bay Hill, because that's something that means something to us as golfers. You know, as if it wasn't for Palmer, there'd be no Golf Channel.
Right.
And if there wasn't any Golf Channel, you know, we wouldn't have.
We wouldn't be where
to
we're
this
at
point.
right now. Yeah, exactly. I think your 4 elevated events, you do the Bay Hill, the Memorial, and then what are 2 others?
Players.
The Players Championship. Yeah, and then what would be our 4th one?
I would say
It
Memorial.
shouldn't be Quail Hollow.
No, but
Yeah.
it would need to be something later in the year, toward the end of the season.
Gosh, that's actually a tough one. Narrowing down that 4th one.
But that's what would
Yeah.
actually make it mean
Interesting.
something.
And have kind of
You know
like
what I
like a point system.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For these elevated
Arnold
events.
Palmer is an elevated event this year.
It is? Good.
I mean, I think it should. But
So you have Arnold Palmer's next, then the Players, then the Masters, then the Heritage. RBC Heritage is an elevated event.
Yeah, seeing that shouldn't be either.
Well, they're doing that because they're kind of throwing a bone at RBC for sticking with the PGA
Right.
Tour through all the hard times because they always got the weakest field because it was
because
the
it's
weak.
right after the Masters.
Yeah. Wells Fargo, the Memorial, the Travelers, and then the technically they're considering the FedEx Cup playoffs as elevated events. So
Yeah,
like
which
other than
you're already getting
the Travelers being in Connecticut, which they're making that an elevated event because the players like to play there
Yeah.
because it's a very scoreable golf course. I mean, how many 58s and 59s have they had out there?
Oh, I thought of a good one, and they're not going to. But if the PGA Tour went back to Greenbrier,
Yeah.
that would be a good 4th elevated event with
Yeah.
a really awesome
Lives
venue.
elevated event.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
That's why I said they're not going to now,
Yeah.
but that would have
What's-
been a really
Yeah,
good
the
one.
Greenbrier was always fun to watch.
And that's the
that
thing. Like we're not, because trust me, I'm
not
gonna watch.
hating
I'm
on
gonna
the- I'm
watch
not hating on
Riviera.
the-
I know we sound like a broken record a little bit with our criticisms of PGA Tour, but like you can't look at this tournament this past week and say that was the 70 best players in the world.
Well, and you can't justify having 8 of those events either, I don't think.
No.
We're not necessarily hating on the PGA Tour as much as we are golf fans and fans of watching golf. We want to see the best product for us,
A
right?
perfect example is the needle was there this week.
And it didn't get moved.
Thursday's first round Genesis was very bad ratings wise, right?
Yeah.
450,000 viewers down, 51% from last year.
Right.
And that's
Why is
that's
that?
with the big cat playing.
Yeah. Why is that?
So you got to ask yourself, why is that?
Oh, me, I get tired of watching putting.
Well,
I want to see golf shots.
for sure.
And I think
sure.
that probably is more due to that fact that the coverage is
boring. It's more
terrible.
It's like
commercials.
the coverage doesn't really show golf.
They didn't
but,
have energy this week.
but also the market's flooded.
Yep.
True.
There's just too many events.
I mean, what's stopping sponsors now
there's
from
too
just
many
starting
special
their,
events.
like that's my thing, right? You had this week on the LPGA, or it's not even the LPGA, but you had the Saudi International, where it's just a tournament that's put on that's not part of any tour. What is it going to take to just go back to that model? To where if you have a sponsor and a sponsor wants to put on a tournament and they can choose who they want to be there. I mean, that's how they did it back in the day.
Yeah.
That's why you had the Milwaukee Open called the Milwaukee Open.
But
Right?
we got to guarantee starts for these stars.
Yeah, the most famous one, the Waterbury Classic.
Yeah.
Mr. Gilmore.
Oh my gosh. I
But like to your point, like, obviously what helped Sunday is the Daytona 500 got canceled. But using the Daytona 500 yesterday is when you watch the race, what did you actually get to watch?
The race.
race.
Mostly racing. Yeah.
And when there was a commercial, it didn't take 80% of the TV. It took 20% in the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like about every 4 to 7 minutes on PGA coverage that you watch, we're playing through. Mm-hmm. And they minimize the golf to like 10% of the screen and the commercials on the right side. So you're not really playing through. It's still there, but we're going to mainly focus on
And NASCAR is a perfect example because how bad has it been for NASCAR the past, let's just say 8 years ticket-wise, in-person racing?
It's been bad.
They've been struggling. But at the same time, there's still buzz around every race because the viewer, like people are, the reason why people stop going to races, the loyal fans are there, the people that travel with their campers, and NASCAR races are so fun. I recommend it if you've never been. But you have people that stay because you get to learn more while you watch it on TV. We can't say that about golf. Any tournament.
And I was going to say, too, like the NASCAR coverage has had its history of being poor as well, too. I mean, how many times they used to, and like the coverage of Daytona 500.
Oh, there would be a wreck during a full commercial.
Right, we got to cut back in. Like there always seemed like they're cutting away the commercial when the action was happening. But that being said, I would use the Formula One as a good example for how I think PGA Tour should look at doing coverage.
They're both on Netflix.
Formula One, you have commercials during the pre-race build-up. And then once they go to formation lap and come back around to the lights, and when the lights go out and racing starts, guess what stops? Commercials. There's not a single commercial for the entire race.
2 hours.
2 hours.
2 hours.
Right? So now, obviously, Formula One has huge sponsors. They have
there's no sports organization that has more money.
Let's be honest, that's the Saudis. They have Heineken and maybe one or two other huge sponsors that are like title sponsors of all the events.
Another energy company. What's Mercedes' number one sponsor?
Petronas.
Yeah, that's right.
But why can't the PGA Tour partner with one or two, maybe three huge sponsors? And they sponsor the back nine of the events.
They technically
they show you Sunday on the back nine commercial free.
Well, this is my thing.
Or at least every round on the back nine.
They just did. They got $3 billion. So instead of giving $750 million to the top 30
players,
30 players based off of their
why not give it to the fans and provide a better product experience?
Why don't we go 600? I'm not sounding very capitalistic right now, but why don't we go 600 million and then we have $150 million through the year that you give to the TV networks to not have commercials?
Right.
Because then Jay Monahan couldn't put that extra money in his pocket.
Why is the last hour of the Masters watch free? Who donates
it?
No,
they do the back nine.
Or back nine on Sunday. So who donates that?
Those
it's
three
Rolex.
title sponsors.
Rolex essentially pays for it.
Well, they have, but the Masters has Mercedes,
Rolex,
IBM, and Rolex. Now, why can I remember three sponsors for a golf tournament? Because there's only three. But I can't tell you the 1,200 commercials that were on during the coverage.
We can get players out there like these NASCAR drivers. Man, my Aramco Chevy, my Aramco Callaway Forge, powered by Nippon Motor. Just handle real good.
I would much rather hear that.
Yeah.
And watch golf. Get to see the golf shots.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
putting.
What's interesting.
Not putting.
I mean, well, if I can see the golf shot that led to the putt, now the putt means something to watch it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know the story that happened to get me to that putt and what that putt means.
Yeah. I promise there's going to be a day where we say the tournament was just so fun to watch.
Yeah, it'll be April.
It'll be after April. After the first week of April.
The 14th.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's just how it goes sometimes.
Yeah. So synopsis is we don't think the elevated
Are you guys going to watch the Mexico Open at Valdosta? These commercials kill me, dude.
We'll see. All right, we doing show and tell now?
Yep, let's get to some fun stuff.
Yeah.
I saw this the other day.
Some guy did it with an R9 driver too.
So what we have here is an old lob wedge, 60 degree, used as a gear shifter, and the person commented and said, the only use I have for a 60 degree. Nikki, how do you feel about
sawmill? Might cut his hand.
Why are 60 degrees so hard for people to use? Man, they're your friend. Loft is your friend, man.
As much as I like to bump and run, I still know loft is my friend.
This is something that I would definitely do. And I know if someone hopped in my car, they'd be like, well, really? What the hell? I think this is super cool. I would say the only problem with this is I wouldn't do it to my truck because it's automatic. I mean, that
this is an automatic.
That's what
This is
getting
an automatic.
to. I'm going to say the idea is a birdie.
Because it's an automatic, it's
a shank.
Oh, come on.
This look cool on a manual.
I would.
Manuel.
I think it would be hard to go through an H pattern gearbox.
It would.
As your gear shifter. Let's be honest. I think this is meant for an
Actually,
automatic.
you're right. If this was probably in a manual, that wouldn't be safe to others on the road.
Well, I mean, he's got a golf shaft in there, so maybe he's got this glued on. You know,
You know what it needs? It
Secure.
needs a ferrule.
Yeah, it needs a BB&F toe ferrule.
Hey, no free plug.
I like
we'll use them.
I like the idea of par, but bogey.
He's
'cause,
wearing the hat, Nikki.
2 reasons.
That's fair.
One, guess what happens when it's 80 plus degrees outside to the inside of your car?
It gets hot.
And what does the sun do to metal?
It's gonna get hot.
So you're going to shift and you're going to say something that's
And you're
not
gonna,
the word
you're gonna
shift.
burn a 60 on the bottom of your head, on the top of your head.
But where my brain, and this may be bad, but where my brain went with this is you've got a golf shaft that's, and it's probably what, 8 to 10 inches there, plus then the head attached. What happens when that airbag goes off? You've had a weapon in that
Hopefully,
car.
hopefully it don't hit that gear
Yeah.
shifter. I mean, that airbag ain't going anywhere near that.
Yeah. I don't know.
Actually, this is someone's truck or SUV because that's the
There's
the four-wheel drive and the
transfer
overdrive.
case.
Yeah,
It'd be cooler. It'd be cooler, like if, like on a golf cart or something like that.
that's pretty cool.
I was gonna say it. I think
It's different.
Golfers are crazy, man.
I'm gonna give the idea a birdie, the execution of it, or the meaning behind it a bogey. You got to be able to use your lob wedge. Come and take a short game lesson.
Hey, at least
if
he
you need
chose
to.
a Vokey.
Right? I would say.
I mean,
Yep. Rule number 44. No excuses. Play like a champion.
There you go.
next.
Sucks to be a Bills fan.
I see slappy cuts in these clubs' future. It's a dang good looking golf club, man.
Yeah.
Wilson has definitely knocked it out of the park this year with their with the staff line. I think.
I see these are actually good looking irons. I think they look very good. And it's a good combo. So we have the Wilson staff model CBs, right?
Yeah, these are the new ones.
With a Dart V, US Team Mamiya Dart V build, Ionic grips,
105
and BB&F code
F5.
ferrules. Now, I think the color choice on the ferrules here might be a little bit. They're very, very specific to the person, right?
But hey, that's what I would do.
Is that, yeah.
Unfortunately,
make the clubs your own, right?
I would be fine still bragging about the Bills way more than bragging about my Panthers.
Yeah, well, nobody's bragging about the Panthers.
Nobody. I think I'm really surprised with how these turned out, and then I think that blue and red kind of on the Dart V shaft. I was like,
It looks good.
I like when the ferrules are loud.
Yeah, I do too.
It's
Well, I
a
like
cool
that
build.
there's enough separation between the ferrule and the ionic grip to
True.
let it actually flow, like the color story flow.
Yeah,
So obviously it's a flush.
Yeah,
flush.
yeah.
Wow. I'm gonna give it a birdie.
Hey, he was hitting them yesterday. He was hitting them good.
I'm gonna give it a birdie. So the build is cool, but the color is a bogey. Go Birds.
You get one attempt for $1 million. Option 1, make a 6-foot putt downhill left or right breaker. Option 2, hit a driver off the tee and land within 25 feet.
25-foot wide
I
fairway.
say-
Which one you take?
The putt, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, the putt has no chance of leaving short. I mean,
Well, no, it's not even that.
what does
no,
putting prove? A downhill putt's always way
The
easier to make.
fairway is
than-
just 25 feet wide. It doesn't matter how far you hit it.
20. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. It's just a 25-foot
You have
wide
to hit
fairway.
a driver, though.
Right.
25 foot is small.
That's a
it'll hit the-
very
it'll
narrow
hit and
fairway.
kick.
I say, what if you get a bad bounce in the fairway?
Land in somebody's
Or it just rolls one roll barely outside of the 25 feet?
For whatever reason, the downhill sliders, I seem to focus
I
more
say-
and I putt
I
well.
love left to right putts.
I'm taking that putt.
Yeah, option
10
one.
times out of 10.
I say, with my hook stroke, I can aim it straight in, hook it right in there, just slam it in the back of the cup.
Yeah. After my driver charades, I'm not taking any driver challenge, clearly.
I mean, you think you could hit the fairway one-handed? I mean, we know you can hit it 225 one-handed, right? You think you can hit the fairway doing that?
All I know is if I play the red tees and you guys want to play your normal tees and I get to play way forward, I'll still play you. One-handed.
Just turn his back to the fairway so you can hit it.
Slap hooks.
So we're all taking the putt.
Yeah, that's an easy decision.
Easy one.
We need to come up with more stuff like this.
I'll say,
we got to get the brains going.
If this is for real, we get one attempt for $1 million. I call that a flush. I'm taking that gamble.
Yep.
All the time.
All day.
Have you seen the ones, though? It's like either you take the attempt for $1 million or you go to jail.
Yeah.
I'm still taking the attempt.
Still taking the attempt. How long is it? How long have I got to sit in jail for? You know.
Well, they feed you. So.
Yeah. I was gonna say free rent.
I've been paying for it. So
There's a lot of benefits to that.
all right. So big things coming in the shaft world. So you're gonna have to stay tuned for that.
Yeah. Little blue shaft.
I say it may or may not be blue. Yeah.
For the last 2.5 years, won more money on tour than any other shaft history. So you guys will have to stay tuned for that one. Special guest. And so if you want to see that, be prepared. Turn on the push bell notification so that you get the alert when it actually gets debuted. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
Nice segue there, Kyle.